Emily Ferry.
Arlene Schofield.
My name is Shireen Snow.
My name is Carla A. Miles.
Diana Camuto.
This is Christine Dunford.
I'm me, Eden.
Caroline Macy. This is Walker Fannin.
Lydia Camille Dixon.
I'm Sarah Dates Woodham.
My name is Linda Preston, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and welcome to the Keith Andrew Network. This is Season 5, 421. I'm here with the talented and beautiful Beth Bridges, and I just want to say thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, for people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there to never give up and to prove people wrong. To show them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. And to prove to them you're able to break the labels. So, hashtag break the labels. So that being said, half hour, 37 minutes of your time. Say anything you want. Freedom of self-expression, freedom of speech, freedom of self-expression. And starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Well, first of all, when you reached out to me on Twitter, I was intrigued because you did call it the Keith Andrew Network, and I go by the Networking Motivator. And Twitter's been a fantastic networking tool and networking site for me. I've met and made incredible connections with just really great people like yourself, people who've turned out to be longtime friends and mentors and business connections. And I admired and appreciated that you just reached out and made the connection and used Twitter for one of, I think, the things that it's really powerful for, which I think we wouldn't have had the chance to connect on any other form. It's one of the things I like about Twitter is that you reach a lot of people that you wouldn't otherwise have a chance to reach. And sometimes it can feel a little random, and sometimes I think it has a purpose in it. So I think I found you because you had the word network in your profile name, and I'm interested in anybody who is a student of networking or who is building a network or who considers themselves to be part of a network. So I really appreciate that, and I'm really glad to meet you and make this connection. Like you said, at the very least, you make a new friend, and sometimes that's enough. So just a little tiny bit more about why I call myself the Networking Motivator. I worked for a Chamber of Commerce, and they hired me to be their marketing and membership person. And, you know, when you have a job interview and at the end they always say, hey, do you have any questions for us? And I made a mistake because I didn't ask them the question that everybody who's looking for a marketing job should always ask, and that is, what kind of marketing budget do you have? Because if I had asked them that question and they'd been honest, they would have had to say, we just blew the whole budget on you. I had no budget. I had no marketing budget to work with. But what I did have was the freedom, like you said, freedom of expression, and I had a lot of autonomy in the job, and I knew that going out and networking and just meeting people was going to be probably the most valuable marketing tool I had. And so over 10 years, I attended about 2,500 networking events. It was about 20 to 25 networking breakfasts, luncheons, after hours a month for 10 years. And so that's how I became the networking motivator.
Well, during the 10 years, I bet you met a lot of very interesting people.
I met a lot, just a wide range of people. Now, most of them were business owners or in a sales or marketing position, or they were small business, so they were an entrepreneur, they were a solopreneur, but just they came from all kinds of backgrounds and all kinds of businesses, and it was really fascinating, and I'm still fascinated to meet just people who have different experiences and grew up in different parts of the country or the world, and had a different kind of education. It's always fascinating. You always learn something from everybody you meet.
No, I agree with you, and I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But before we get to that point, it's too early for that. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is, a lot of people say it's about disability, so I'm trying to change up the format to make every interview different. First question I was going to ask you is, what's your opinion about social media? Do you think social media can make you or break you? That's the first question. And the second one is, have you worked with people with disabilities, or would you be willing to work with people with disabilities?
So first of all, about social media, I think that like almost anything, we find what we're looking for when we go on social media. So if we go on social media and we're looking for people to argue with, or people to put down, or things to get upset about, we're going to find that. If we're going to go on social media and our idea is to learn things and be exposed to new things and meet people with different opinions and different backgrounds and different approaches than us, and we see that as a positive thing, then that's the kind of good, positive social media experience we're going to have. Now, unfortunately, we tend to encounter, whether we want to or not, people in the first group who do want to just, have arguments and be mean. But the nice thing is that you have a good amount of control over what you see and interact with on social media. And so I think for the most part, it can be positive. And it can make you, especially, again, if you're using it to reach out to people and learn things and experience different things, then I think it's definitely a very positive thing.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also how it can break you is by saying stupid things on social media.
Yeah, if you use it to be hateful or mean or put other people down, you're not going to have a positive experience, and that, I think, ruins the experience. You can have unpopular opinions, you can have strong opinions that aren't pleasant or that are harsh, but I think it's too bad when people use it to tear other people down instead of building themselves up.
No, I agree. And what about, have you ever worked with people? I don't know if you hear me or it's cutting in, cutting out.
Oh, cut out, but I got you. I got you back now, and I remember your question. I know that there's a whole range of ability, quote, ability or disability that people have, and I don't think it's important what somebody starts with. I think it's important what they try to do with it. And in networking, a lot of people think that you have to be an extrovert. You have to have a talent for it. And a lot of people don't even try because they think, well, I don't have that talent for it. But like so many other things, it's a skill, and it can be learned, and people can develop these skills. And so I really appreciate how you're talking about, not giving up and trying and building your skills and not letting the labels of ability or disability stop you from trying something. Because whether someone is supposedly able or disabled, we all do that. Oh, well, I'm too shy. I can't do networking, or I'm too short, or I'm too tall, or I'm, whatever it is. It's a skill that can be learned. Now, my chances being, in the NBA or the WNBA ended when I stopped growing at, 5 feet tall. Pretty sure I wasn't going to be in the, professional basketball player. So there's clearly limits, but that didn't mean I couldn't be an athlete, or that didn't mean that I couldn't be fit or I couldn't be strong. But most of the limitations that we put on ourselves are, they're, like you said, break the labels. Don't stick with the labels of, too. And again, I especially see this in networking: too shy, or I'm too introverted. No, those are not labels that mean a whole lot in networking. Just like a lot of labels don't mean a lot in life.
No, I agree with you. And now for people who want to know, how did you become a motivational speaker?
Well, part of the way I started doing it was in my job. I did a lot of presentations and a lot of speaking in my job. People think that you have to have it all figured out before you start speaking. But it's funny because I think there's people who can be an inspiration to you, and I think there's people who can motivate you. And I think the people who can inspire you are like the greatest of all time, right? So if you were a boxer, you could be inspired by Muhammad Ali, but he was the greatest of all time. Like, you're not going to be as great as him. You're not going to be half as great as him. You're not even going to be a quarter as great as him. But maybe there's a local athlete or someone who just is in the amateur ranks, or a college person who's just a little bit farther ahead of you. That's the person I find motivating. So I run, and I think Shalane Flanagan, right, who won the New York City Marathon, first American woman in how many years? She's inspiring, but I couldn't even run a quarter mile at her speed.
I can't run in general.
Yeah, right? So, but somebody who's just a little bit faster can be motivating because you want to be right behind them. So don't think that you have to be the greatest of all time to be a motivational speaker. You only need to have figured out a little bit more, or be in the same place even that the audience you're talking to, because they can relate to that. And that's my whole point. You want to be relatable, and you want to have something of value to offer the people you're speaking to, but you don't want to be so far out there that they can't even imagine being anywhere near what you're doing. But if you're close, they can imagine themselves kind of making that step to be where you are. Of course, in the meantime, you've grown a little bit, and then they grow a little bit, then you grow a little bit. And that's why I like to call myself the Networking Motivator. Right? I'm not a guru. I'm not the world's greatest expert, but I want to encourage other people to, come up and learn from what I'm learning. And I learn some more, and then they come up and learn some more. And so from a practical standpoint of how do you become a motivational speaker, like anything, practice. A lot of practice. And Toastmasters is, if you've ever heard of that organization, it's a fantastic place to practice speaking. It's not designed to teach people how to become professional speakers, but it gives you the forum and the format to practice on a regular basis. Now, what you're doing right here, interviewing people and being on camera, right? Because at first, it takes practice to not want to look like, because Because in the video, I'm down here in the corner, right?
Yeah.
I'm right down here in the corner. But it takes practice for me to not watch myself talk, but to look over here and talk to you, talk to the camera. So things like that take practice, and part of it is just doing it. So I heard you say this is season 5 of your show.
Yes.
And that's fantastic because you sound great. You have the introduction, you sound very passionate, and you've worked out the introduction very well, and that's from practicing. And I'm sure you've edited a little bit and made mistakes, and we all have to be willing to do that to get where we're going. It's a lot of work.
Well, 2 things that you brought up, I like to talk to you about. It's because I don't know, hopefully I can change this back, but, I see myself on the screen, so I'm trying to focus on you, but at the same time, I'm looking at the corner of my eye, what I'm doing, so I stand like this, or, okay, if I'm like this, am I too intense, am I too goofy, but it's kind of like, you have to laugh at yourself. You can't hold yourself. And the other thing was, actually, I forgot what the other thing was. But we're going on to the other subject I want to actually take the break and pass the show over to you. The first question is, do you think, from what you have seen of me and heard of me, hopefully you heard good things, but from what you've seen of me, do you think I have the potential going up and beyond to be like an actual broadcaster? Do you think I have the ability to do other things, or do you think this is as far as I'm going to go?
I think you can do whatever it is that you want to do. Now, to be on national television and be, the co-host of the Today Show, that's taken Hoda. She's the best, right? She's got that spot now. But to always improve and to always grow, that's always possible. And really, finding the audience that you can relate to and that you can help the most. That's what's really, that's the calling. I mean, that's what to look for. And have you ever heard of his name is Kevin Kelly? He founded Wired Magazine. He's the founding editor of Wired Magazine, and he wrote an essay called 1,000 True Fans. And when you have a chance, look that up. 1,000
Is
true
he a
fans.
wrestler? Former Kevin Kelly, former WWF announcer?
I don't think so.
Okay, so a different guy.
He's a writer. He's mostly a writer, and he was a magazine editor. But what he talks about is finding your 1,000 true fans, and if you can meet their needs and build that relationship, now he's talking about it as an artist, but really anybody who creates anything is really who he's talking about. And if you can do that, and if you can serve that group, that is a worthy endeavor. And that's really something that I'm working on, 1,000 true fans and finding the people that I can relate to the best and serve the best. And a lot of times what you find is that they may be, maybe a smaller group than you thought, but you make a bigger impact on them. And I think if you are thinking about, doing motivational speaking, you've got a platform. You're already building your platform for that. That's what you're doing here, just by interviewing people. And if you think, well, that interview wasn't perfect, that's okay, because it takes practice. So here's part of what I was able to do that helped me. I don't know. I probably still do too much of this. But see, I grew bangs out, so you can't see that anymore. But I used to do that in my job. we ended up with an online TV show, and myself and a coworker did the show. And at first, we could hardly watch ourselves on it. It was just, we're so self-conscious. We're always so self-conscious, right? And we look at ourselves and we pick apart every little thing we do, and other people either don't notice or they don't care. And so we spent hours. We had that show for, I think, a year, and it was weekly. And that really helped us get comfortable. So what you're doing now, the platform that you've got, whether you're going on YouTube or whether you're going here on your own website, it's a platform you can leverage and reach a lot of people.
No, I agree with you, and I do want your couple opinions on this one. Is I've seen the videos where my friend Kurgan Mayhem, for people who want to know what, it's like the same thing. I turn thinking there's somebody next to me. Yeah, I can stay focused. My friend Kurgan Mayhem said he rented a place in a school, and I was like, he said he was doing a play, and he asked the school if he can use the auditorium. And he said, well, the students have to be part of it. That's more than welcome. So I was thinking, well, why can't I ask to use the auditorium? And I know the answer. The answer is like, "What are you, stupid or something? Hey, how old are you? You won't go back to school?" And I'm like, something like that. I know people are going to say something. But I'm thinking, the reason I say that is they have an auditorium. And I was thinking, how much would I need to pay you to use that for my studio? However, yes, that's for me to use the studio and in the auditorium. But what I can give to you and everyone else is you can have the art class, create the background. We can make a class out of it for people who want to go into broadcasting or people who want to go into media. They can have people who want to actually know how to use a camera. So you can have camera people. You have people who want design the set. You can really do that if you're motivated yourself. I actually told my mom my great idea, so I got so excited. I said, there's a movie theater down the road from where I live. And it's a lot of things about it. But there's a movie theater right in town, and I've been talking to them on and off about doing autograph signings and everything, but I haven't motivated myself. I'm really motivated about this idea. And I said, how much would it be to rent a movie theater? This is just like a room. And, okay, that's great for me. And what would help for you is you charge, say, today we have a special event, Keith Andrew of the Keith Andrew Network, doing a special in-person interview, $10 admission. There you go. I sound like Jeff Goldblum. Boom. I'd say the chef, bam, you have this, and then you're marketing, and then you're doing this. I'm bustering it. But basically, it's like, first you have the fee to come in, $10, and then you get the drinks, then you get the popcorn, and then you get the merchandise, and by the thing you have $40, $50 right there. I don't really want the money. I just want to say, hey, I got the experience. You have my own studio. Now I'm performing in front of a live audience, and you can keep the money. All I say is, can I have the room? And can I have that space? And you can charge people for admission. And then you can charge people if they want to buy merchandise. Then you can charge people to get drinks because people are hungry. People want to drink. So basically, you can do all these things that you give me a small piece, but if you look at it, look at what you're getting back, if that makes any sense. So I was thinking either work with, the movie theater, or either work with the school. Either way, it's a win-win scenario, so it's kind of like, eventually, things will fall into place. Because I do want to do this until I die. And what I mean by that is not doing this from my bedroom. I mean, actually sitting down with you in person and having my own set and saying, one thing I remember about Keith is, he did a lot of stupid things, but I liked how he made a difference in somebody's life or made an example.
Well, if you're doing those kind of things, if you're making a difference in people's lives and you're being a great example, then nothing you're doing is stupid. It's not stupid. Making mistakes is not stupid. That's just making mistakes. It's learning things.
You did say to me, I did over season 5, and it's about 421. I throw it out there because I've been saying to some of my past interviews, but I keep telling myself I won't bring it up because it still antagonizes me. Unofficially, I did over 772 interviews.
Wow.
The problem was that at the time as I was taking, and then we could take a break after this, and then we come back and pass the show to you. So wrapping up this segment, I did 772 interviews. First, I did it from the phone, and people say to me, "You have this great format. Why aren't you big or bigger when you portray yourself to be? Why don't you have sponsors? Why don't you have people helping you? Would you like to help me?" I said, no, if you can't do it yourself, then it's not meant to be. And I used to hang up and be like, yeah, thanks a lot, asshole. and I got my brother used to say, and my sister, you're not copyrighted, you're not trademarked, you're misleading people, you're confusing people, you're this whole big thing. So I went to a senior warrior, so I asked senior advisor. And all this is true. It's got to be in my book that I'm working on. And he said, can I ask you a couple questions? He said, one, you do not have to be trademarked because you're not making money. And all you're doing is putting yourself in a hole. Long story short. Two, you do not need to be copyrighted because you have an online presence and you're on social media and people know who you are. That's number 2. Number 3, your biggest mistake that you did was I was taking people at their word. Say, for an example, before we did our interview now, I asked you signed a permission form.
Yeah.
And say if I met you a couple years ago, you would say, hey, my name is Keith, do I have your permission to interview? You would say yes. Or how do you know you didn't edit that yes from something else? And so from 300, I was originally called uncensored because I liked WWE. I would love to work with WWE. So I was like, KeithAndrewNetwork presents Uncensored because I like WWE, and said Monday Night Raw presents, it's like Hershey and Snickers presents WrestleMania, and I was like, the KeithAndrewNetwork, why not do something like that? So after I got 300 and I went through the list, here's what I'm doing, here's the concept of the show. Do I have your permission to use the interview? And at that time, people were coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, my agent said, my publicist said, you're asking a lot of stupid questions. We don't like the video quality. And you can go back to season 1 and 2 and see the video quality change. It's like if you don't like the video quality, you ask a lot of stupid questions, you don't want to be seen as people like you. So, excuse my language, so I said, fuck it. I took everything down. It says, I don't want these people. I don't want to be referred as uncensored. The hell with it. We got freedom of speech, freedom of self-expression. And so basically I just said, fuck it. Do it over. I throw it out, do it over. And it's like, well, do you still have my interviews? What interviews? Because I threw them out. Don't ask me why. When I make a mistake, I throw it out. I don't want to announce it. So I did it over. It's from uncensored to the KeithAndrewNetwork. And from 300, I got back up to 200. And I had to swallow that 100. And at the time, I had my trophy. I can show you afterwards. I got my trophy. And it didn't mean anything because I had to do it over. And so basically, from 300, now it's the KeithAndrewNetwork. And people are like, hey, a couple years ago we did a demo interview. Can we do it over? We already did an interview. Okay, then where is it? I don't know. Don't you have it? And it's like, no, I threw it out. Why did you throw it out? Because it was a demo interview. And so now they think, that. So basically, yes, in total, 772. And I should have been doing this from the start, but at the same time, if I was doing this, you really wouldn't have seen me grow. You really wouldn't have seen a growth and everything. So I started, how you see the reflection on the phone? It's what the camera picked up. And in season 2, here's the camera, records from the computer screen. And now season 3 to 5, it's cut in half. You're on the right, and I'm on the left. Or we can flip it, and you interview me, and I'm on the opposite side. So you've seen a transition for all those years. For 5.5, this June will be 5 years. And, hey, I'm not a rocket science. I learned at a 5th grade level. I was labeled as handicapped, mentally challenged, retarded. But look at what I have created for myself. Make a long story short. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to pass the show over to you for the last 7 minutes.
All right.
Me, Mark Medley.
Hi everybody, this is Mark Neely.
Barry Papick.
This is Peter Bruno.
My name is Kyle Collier. This is Julio Santiago, better known as Dynamite.
I'm Richard Epcar.
Orange Chow.
This is Kerrigan Mahan.
And this is Goldar.
And we both support
Keith Andrew.
And my name is Ron Wasserman, and I am supporting Keith Andrew on what he is doing, and you better do the same, or I'm gonna come kick your ass.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Keith Andrew. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Beth Bridges. I just want to say thank you for sticking with us. With the last 6 minutes left of the show, I'm going to pass it over to you. Was there anything you wanted to promote, talk about, ask me? This is your time. So ask me anything you want.
All right. So Keith, tell me, what do you want and who do you want to reach? Like, what kind of message would you want to reach people with? I've already heard your message and read your website. Do you want to reach people with that message? And then what do you want them to do with that message?
So basically, I was thinking about, yes, I do want to become rich and famous. But when I die, I know it sounds like an oxymoron, because billions and billions of people want to be rich and famous, and they die. But it's kind of like, what do you want to leave behind? And I'm like, well, I do have a disability. I was labeled handicapped, mentally disturbed, retarded. I'm going to show you what people with disabilities can amount to. There's a guy from the new Hawaii Five-0. He plays Steve McGarrett. And he has a disability. And there's a couple other actors out there, I don't know their names, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had disabilities. But the Hawaii Five-0 one stands out the most. Funny enough, I had an opportunity to be on it. Let me tell you a funny story real fast. Came across this recruiter on LinkedIn. And says, I'm looking for people to be on Hawaii Five-0. I said, great. Can you come in tomorrow? Yeah, sure. Where in New York are you? I'm willing to take a taxi. I pay whatever you want just to be on Hawaii Five-0. He's like, yeah. We're not in New York. Where are you? Hawaii. It's like, okay. Thanks for telling me that. It's pretty much, you ask me, what do I want to leave behind? So I want it to say on my tombstone, made an example, broke labels. I want people to remember me as the guy who went up and beyond, making a difference and breaking labels. If that makes any sense.
Makes a lot of sense, and I think right now is a time when that message is more important than ever, and when people are willing to hear that message. And whether it's somebody who's been labeled as disabled, or someone who's a minority who's always listened to people call them names, or who felt like they didn't fit in, or someone who's transgender, or anyone like that. We're all labeled, and we're just people, and everybody are people who want to, do meaningful work and have good friends and, make a difference, and the labels don't matter. And so right now is a really good time to be sharing your message, and I really admire you for doing that and taking the chances. Everybody fails and makes mistakes and tries things that don't work. And we talked about social media a little bit earlier, and one of the downsides of social media is that everything's edited, right?
Yeah.
So there's hardly anything on social media that doesn't look good or isn't the best version of what's going on. And so we look at other people's lives and we think, wow, their life is so great. Well, that's because they don't put the, bad stuff or the ugly photos. I mean, look at, Kim Kardashian does selfies and takes like 37 tries to put the best selfie on, So I'll give it 1 or 2 tries. And if it's still, if it's still a funny looking selfie, I'm like, who cares? But it's a downside that we all see just everybody else's perfections. And I think it's important to show that, we all have our imperfections, and they're not everything that we are. We're not just the label. We're people with perfections and imperfections. So.
And to answer your other question you asked me, it's, I would love to work for the WWE. I know I'm not gonna be, maybe I will become a superstar, who knows? But I wrote up a couple storyline scenarios where I won a belt, and afterwards they can do something like, oh, you're not under contract, so yes, you have to take the belt back. But you can do things like that, and you can be creative, you can think outside the box. But yes, working for the WWE is one of my things I want to do. And just being happy and just take it one step at a time. What does somebody say? It's not the destination, it's the journey that you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can encourage other people on their journey, that's incredible. That's one of the things I love to do, is encourage other people and show them how to make what I'm good at, how to take what's easy for me, because I've worked at it really hard, and show them how to take some of those strategies and make it easier for them. Because I figure anything that I've learned that I can teach someone else to do faster, like I can help them kind of shorten the way,
right,
then they free up time to do something else more valuable, or to learn something else more valuable, and maybe they'll learn something that they'll help me with. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to do too, is encourage and make things easier for other people, by sharing what I've learned the hard way in a lot of ways.
No, absolutely. Now stay tuned for after the show. I do have a couple questions for you. But wrapping up our interview segment, how can people follow you on social media? Are you on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Stage 32? And my last question for you is, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction, and what made you say yes?
Okay, so I'm on Facebook, and if you search for the Networking Motivator, should be able to find me. And I'm on Twitter, and I have to admit, Twitter's my favorite, and it's at Beth Bridges on Twitter, and I do tweet a lot of networking tips and strategies and links to stories, and really encourage people about networking. So Twitter, at Beth Bridges. And I'm also a published author, and you can find my book on Amazon, and just search for Networking on Purpose by Beth Bridges. And here's one of the reasons why I do like Twitter and why I know that it's very powerful. the foreword to my book was written by Bob Berg, who is a New York Times best-selling author. And Bob and I first connected and started talking on Twitter. And that led to me asking him to write the foreword to my book, which he did.
Would love to have him on the show if he can put a good word in.
Yeah, right. And then your last question was?
When I first approached you,
yeah.
What was your first reaction and what made you say yes? And you can be completely honest.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. I just really appreciated that you were clear about your purpose and that you had a mission and that you were willing to just reach out and ask. And not to ask for something huge. Well, I mean, asking for somebody's time is a big ask. But if you ask 100 people and 10 say yes, that's 10 more people than if you hadn't asked any of them. I will also tell you that my mom worked in special education for 25 years with most of her career was with little kids, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, a lot of whom had a lot of really difficult medical issues. Some of the children they called medically fragile. And you know what, though? They were just kids. Regardless of their ability or their disability, a lot of them couldn't even talk. But they were able to communicate and they made their needs known, and they were kids like any other kids. I mean, some of them were just sweet and easy, and some of them were a little difficult, and some of them were a lot of fun, and some of them were, handful, just like any kid, and she loved the kids, and she just had an acceptance of everybody. And my mom's still around, but don't get me wrong. But she loved her kids, and I got a chance to work with her every once in a while and go on field trips, and we always had a blast, and so it was a good opportunity to spend time with people who had just different abilities and different challenges, and just to understand they were just kids like any other kid with all their kid issues, and my mom would think you're pretty cool too. So
I appreciate it, and she's more than welcome to be on the show.
Yeah, well, she's a kick in the pants. So
now, stay tuned. Go ahead.
I was gonna say she's technologically challenged, so I'd have to help her out.
Hey, we can always do a double interview.
That's right, but she's learning, right? So she's always trying to learn stuff. So that's what's important.
Stay tuned for Off the Air. I do have a couple questions about wrapping up our interview segment. It was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
All right, thank you very much.